So the big announcement today is that Nintendo is making their own theme park at Universal Studios. Not just in Florida, but they're doing it in Florida, Tokyo, and in California, Hollywood, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it seems kind of interesting. Basically, today they didn't really show us a lot, but we did kind of get a hint of the direction they are taking, because even though it was just like talking heads, there was, in the background, they kind of showed kind of what the vision for it was. And it seemed like they're going with a new Super Mario Brothers approach, at least to the Mario-themed areas. We saw like a spinning coin set piece. We saw something that looked like it was like an icy hill.
Yeah. This announcement, it really didn't say very much.
It didn't, and I think that really opens up this discussion to a lot of speculation of like what we would like to see, or like how it could go.
Yeah, and we'd like to also hear in the comments what you guys think the park should be. I'll just say that one of the most important things to me, and one of the good things in this video, is, like Ryan was saying, in the background you saw a lot of actual physical objects. There was a tree that looked like one of the trees. There was a coin. There was some spiny shells and things like that. I really think that, you know, today where you have like the HTC Vive and all that, going on a ride at this point in time where you're just looking at a movie screen, it's not enough for me to go all the way down to, you know, Florida or go all the way to California just to be like looking at some movie screen. I really want to see some physical objects, some animatronics. That is super important to me. You know, not that I don't like some of those rides. Like the Spider-Man ride's kind of cool, and like the, you know, the Harry Potter ride is pretty cool. But really, they got to do, you know, like I would hope that they would have several different rides. Maybe one of the rides could be a movie screen where you're looking at it, but there should be more than one ride, and one of the rides needs to have physical objects that you're looking at. Kind of like, just to give out some examples of the kind of thing I'm talking about, is like the Little Mermaid ride in Disney,
right?
Or actually a Universal example, Dr. Seuss Land, how you go on like the Cat in the Hat ride and the actual physical objects are there. That's really important, I think, and they shouldn't kind of cheap out and go with the, you know, they had the King Kong Skull Island ride that's brand new. I went on that, and you're just sitting in the tram, and it's basically like you're just you go through these big awesome doors, and you're like, wow, this is going to be such a cool ride, and then you're just sitting in a tram looking at a screen for 5 minutes, and then on the way out, you know, you see King Kong, the animatronic thing, standing there, and that kind of makes you feel like, well, that's too bad that the whole ride didn't have actual physical characters in it.
I have two comments for Nintendo, if they are listening, that I think will really serve them well as this world is being planned. Don't do something like the Marvel world in Islands of Adventure. Do something like the Harry Potter world, or do something like specifically Dueling Dragons. The theming of the Dueling Dragons ride from the beginning to end, as you're going through the castle, and you see a lot of references to knights being burned up by the dragons and treasure and things like that. It just has great theming, and then it ends with a ride that isn't like some boring, crappy ride. Like Dueling Dragons is a really great, really exciting, fun ride with great theming around it. So it should be fun rides with great theming. But another negative example from Islands of Adventure is Harry Potter World launched, and all they had was the one dark ride and a rethemed Dueling Dragons, which didn't even need to be rethemed. So if you're making a Nintendo World, don't just give us one set piece surrounded by a bunch of mushroom stores and, you know, crappy characters. Give us...
I mean, they're going to have stores. They have to. When you get off of a ride, any ride that you've ever been on, you go into the store because they're trying to sell things and make money. So they're going to have stores. But I know what you mean as far as going to Harry Potter World, and there's a million stores.
There's a million stores in one ride.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah.
You know, maybe have like... If you're going to have the stores, maybe have like a lot of variation. Like, this is the Animal Crossing store. This is the Pokemart. This is the Mario store. Don't just have 50 Mario stores and one Mario ride.
Right. One of the things that I think is extremely important in this is that Nintendo focuses on adults as well as kids, because, you know, you go to Disneyland and you go to Disney World and they just built a, you know, Snow White ride in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's a movie from, you know, such a long time ago. it shows you that Disney is smart enough to not forget about the older fans who love the classic, characters. Now at this point, we're in our 30s. Us kids from the 80s who grew up and, early 90s who grew up with NES and Super Nintendo, now we're bringing our kids to the theme parks, and it has to, it should not ignore the kids. It definitely should, very much focus on the kids as well, but it has to, also cater towards adults. And I think that that's what's great about this being in Universal as opposed to Disney. Universal in general is very much an adult theme park. They have real roller coasters, that you can go on. Like there's the Hulk, and there's actual rides that go upside down. There's not a lot of that in Disney. I think there should be at least one adult-themed roller coaster in this park.
Yeah, I definitely think that, I think it's going to go in Islands of Adventure in Florida, most likely, because they have that big Marvel area right now, and that's kind of, with the licensing changes and stuff like that.
I think a perfect place for them to put it in Islands of Adventure is where they have that Poseidon ride that nobody really likes very much, and it's holding the giant Poseidon trident in its hand. Get rid of the trident and put the Master Sword in there. Clear out that whole area and throw the Zelda ride there,
Yeah, that's interesting because actually one of the best theme park restaurants in any theme park in the entire world is Mythos. So I'm curious if they'd be willing to make that.
You know what that is? That's
change.
Like the Death Mountain restaurant or something.
Exactly.
Gerudo Valley.
It'd be cool if Mythos was rethemed to be like Zelda themed or something like that.
And even that restaurant has like a waterfall going over the side, and it's like, even the original Zelda, walk under the waterfall and all that. It's the perfect area to really do that. At least to do one Zelda thing. The only problem I have with that is that's not a very impressive area in comparison.
It's not big.
In comparison to if you're thinking about like what they did with Harry Potter. Honestly, I want Nintendo to not cheap out with this. I remember when I was a kid, the one thing I wanted from Disney more than anything is for them to have a DuckTales theme area. And then I heard, oh my God, there's the money bin now at Disney World. And then I went down there and it was like near Mickey's Toon Land. And it was basically like the size of this wall here. And I got there and I was like, this is it. It was like, you can take a picture in front of it. It was really sad.
Right.
So if we go down to, when they open this Nintendo World, if it's cheap, it's going to be really disappointing. They need to really invest some money into it and go Harry Potter and make it big.
One thing I do not want to see, and they better not fucking do this because I'm really adamant about it, is don't have a bunch of freaking kiosks everywhere with Switches or Wii U's or whatever.
I agree with that because it's not about that. If you want to do that kind of thing, you can go to the Nintendo World Store. The reason we go to Universal Studios is to go on the rides and to have that experience and to have the characters walking through the parks. And I hope it's more than just Goombas walking around. Let's get like a whole bunch of a variety of different Nintendo characters. All the characters that are in Smash Brothers, every single one of them should be walking around the park.
Yeah, wouldn't it be crazy if you're walking around and like Meta Knight's there one day and then Little Mac is there the next day, and even stupid stuff like Ice Climbers or like Wii Fit Trainer.
Throw in some obscure ones.
It'd be crazy. And they definitely need to go from like our pixelated retro roots all the way up to what they showed in the video, which was the new Super Mario Brothers. So there should be like a World 1-1 flagpole that you can interact with some way, or just things like that. One thing I do need to mention is that Nintendo is going to end up going head-to-head in all three markets with the new Star Wars world.
Sure.
So that's really like the theme park rivalry that's coming, whether you have Disneyland in Tokyo or Disneyland in California or Disney World in Florida. All of them are having some type of Star Wars expansion. And it's going to be interesting to have the dueling head-to-heads. We haven't had this type of theme park conflict since the Fantasyland expansion went against Harry Potter, and I think Harry Potter definitely won that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing I'm really curious about is the fact that, okay, so now Nintendo definitely has this relationship with, Universal Studios. They're building this theme park. But back in the day, I believe Universal and Nintendo had a lawsuit about Donkey Kong. I would think at this point their issues are resolved since they're working together now. Can we get like Donkey Kong the arcade version released on like on Virtual Console or something, because it's like they've still never released the original arcade Donkey Kong. They're working together. Like, can we resolve that?
It'd be cool if, like, you know, because, like, Island's Adventure in particular, the worlds, like, bleed together.
Mm-hmm.
If they had, like, the pixelated Donkey Kong reaching out, and then they have, like, the Jurassic Park world, and it's, like, the regular King Kong.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
I think that one of the things that kids really like in the Disney parks are the Jedi training. Like, where they could do the lightsabers and they could fight Darth Vader.
I know where this is going.
And now you could fight Kylo Ren and stuff like that. I definitely think kids should be able to, like, be Link and maybe, like, break pots or have, like Triforce training. They could call it, like, Triforce Trainer or something, and they could have,
the thing
like,
that I thought
Zelda theme.
Was interesting that you mentioned about Zelda is that it should be, like, one of those, you know,
like, escape
get
from
out
the
of
room things. Yeah, I have 2 Zelda concepts, 2 of which they probably can't do at a theme park, but I think they're great. The first one was, I'm really a big fan of the Madame Tussauds Ghostbusters VR in Times Square. If they could do some type of, like, VR where you're mobile and you're carrying it with you, that would be really awesome, especially if there were, like, walls you could touch and things like that.
I would like to see that, and I'd like to see the escape from the room thing for Zelda, because Zelda is like a puzzle you know, element, like find the key and do all that. But I think that should be like one building off to the side where they do that, and that would be cool. But it shouldn't be like the main attraction. There should be like the Zelda roller coaster.
They gotta have like the crazy roller coaster where you go. You know, that's really like the Disney concept, like Living Seas, where they have the Living Seas ride. And then when you get out of the Living Seas, they have, like, all the, like, aquariums and stuff.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if they had that, like, all broken off of it.
Like, they could definitely do some kind of Mario Kart ride similar to the Men in Black ride or the Toy Story Midway Mania ride, where you're sort of, like, you're popping the, you know, the balls out. You could be, like, shooting the shells or something like that. I could see them doing something like that.
One ride you're never going to see, but you should see, is if they did, like, an F-Zero roller coaster with, like, the soundtrack. Like, you know, like Rock and Roller Coaster is, but going, like, straight up and going through water and stuff like that.
It would be amazing if Nintendo threw us for a loop, because everybody's expecting the Mario ride and the Zelda ride. Throw us a loop and give us, like, 2 other rides and, like, you know, give us a Donkey Kong Country ride or something.
You know, they have
You're in the barrels.
Yeah.
You know?
That would
or
be
the mine cart.
Yeah. That would be absolutely cool. You know, one thing I was thinking is, I'm assuming that it's going to end up in the Marvel world in Islands of Adventure. One of the things that I was thinking was they have that drop tower there. It's like Storm's drop tower.
No, it's Doctor Doom. Storm is like the teacup.
So there's the Doctor Doom drop tower. What if they did like rethemed it like Pilot Wings?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Just to keep that there.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things that they could definitely do.
These are big properties. Mario is like one of the most well-known characters. It's like Universal has a chance to play with a Mickey Mouse level character, which they don't normally have. They need to give Mario the respect that Disney gave Mickey.
And I don't know why I feel that way. I guess it's just sort of the history of sort of disappointments. And I guess it kind of goes back to what Nintendo does with their consoles.
Yeah.
In that, you know, Nintendo is always sort of their machines are not as powerful. We're looking at the Switch. It's like, what is it, 1.5 teraflops compared to 6 and 8 teraflops that these, you know, PlayStation and Xbox Scorpio are going to be.
Yeah.
When you think of Nintendo, you think of sort of like they kind of go for the cheaper side of things. They can't do that with the theme
They can't
park.
do that. We can't have Mouse Coaster. We need King Ka. Nintendo needs to treat this park like they treat their AAA best game titles. This isn't some shitty licensed Nintendo serial system.
Yeah.
This represents the brand not just on the East Coast and West Coast, but globally.
Yeah. Yeah, and people that aren't even really that into Nintendo, they're going to see this regardless because they're going to Universal Studios with their families and stuff. They're going to go in there. This is going to shine, you know, a light on Nintendo for people that wouldn't otherwise, you know, maybe be into Nintendo. So it's going to really represent the company. They can't screw this up. It's going to look really bad if they cheap out on this.
Yeah, I mean, they're at a time where Nintendo is at a crossroads right now.
They really are.
They have no console right now being manufactured until the Switch comes out. They have had a very poor time with the Wii U. They're in a time of transition in so many ways. This could either be the big thing that pushes Nintendo forward if it's done right, or it could just be one more failure that brings them back. And I don't want to see that, and I don't think you want to.
I don't think anybody wants to see it.
Yeah.
So I hope Nintendo's serious about it.